Good afternoon. Most people right now are watching the news and you're seeing Hurricane Florence. It's all about Florence, all about Florence. Yes, we have been at war with fucking Mother Nature all summer long, all season, since May. But the interesting thing about Florence is that we have had a warning. All of you have been warned that are in the path of Florence. You can get out. You can save your own lives because you know it's coming. 17 years ago, on this horrible day, 9/11, 2001, nobody knew we were at war. The beautiful 3,000 plus people who were killed, murdered on that day, didn't know that anything was coming. It was a gorgeous, remember? Do you all remember what a beautiful, crisp, sunny, blue skies, not a cloud in the sky, fall day it was? I remember. I had just gotten back from a trip with my sissy and my mom. We had gone to Avalon for a long weekend. And that Tuesday morning, I had come home and my husband was working in his office and I was at the store because I hadn't been home for a few days. So I went to the Giant and I came home and my husband said, turn on the TV, and my life changed forever. Just like all of our lives changed forever 17 years ago on this day. Those people who were murdered, all different walks of life, all different religions, all different nationalities, they all died on that day, and none of them knew it was coming because they didn't know that we were at war. They weren't soldiers, they weren't in the military, they weren't fighting anybody. They were simply going to work or going on vacation or going home from a family visit, getting on a plane. The firefighters, the first responders, and the others that came after to help rescue and clean up the mess. It was just another day at the office. None of them were prepared. None of them could save themselves, except, of course, the brave people of Flight 93, because they had a warning. Because of the time between the towers and the Pentagon, those people on Flight 93 were giving a warning. You are at war right now. You have just been deputized. You are soldiers. And they made a decision. They said, are we going to let this plane fly into the Capitol or the White House and kill thousands of people? Or are the 40 of us going to make a stand? And they made a stand. They took their stand and they saved a lot of lives while giving up their own. They were the first true soldiers in the war on terror that attacked our country on 9/11/01. Because they said, not this plane. You might have hijacked it, but you're not going to control it. Good for them. God bless all of them and their families. The children that have never known their parents, their fathers, because their fathers were on that plane. And all those who gave their lives. And I gotta tell you, Trump impressed me just a little bit today. That's unusual for me to say, but he gave a very poignant speech in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. He did. And so that's all I'm going to say about that, because today is not about Trump. And for once, he didn't make a speech he gave about him. He made it about the true heroes of 9/11/01. Mattis made an interesting speech, which I liked, because he said, and I better read this from verbatim because I don't want to misquote. I'll get a tweet. Those in false religious garb attacked us on 9/11, and I agree with that. Because for anybody who thinks that 9/11/01 was a religious war, you're wrong. I call bullshit. No religion sanctions that kind of violence against innocent civilians. No religion does it. The Quran doesn't do it. The Bible doesn't do it. Jesus certainly didn't do it. And yet, what do we always hear? Blame the religion. Blame the Muslims. Well, I gotta use part of this show to say, no, you don't blame Islam. You don't blame Muslims for 9/11/01. You blame cowards who can't simply say, I hate America and I want to blow up Americans. No, they got to use the Quran as an excuse. Just like the cowards that walk into Planned Parenthood and shoot it up, use the Christian Bible as an excuse. The Bible made me do it. The Quran made me do it. No, see, that's not true. No religious book sanctions this kind of activity. People stand on their faith and their Bible to make other people feel less than. You're not a Christian, I'm not making you a cake. You're gay, I'm not making you a cake. You're not Muslim, the whole world should be Muslim. No, see, most sane people don't think like that. Most sane people don't say, if you don't belong to my church, you should die. If you don't worship my God, you need to die. And I'm going to kill you if you don't worship my God and pray to my Bible and read my Bible. That's not true religion. That is people using religion as an excuse because they are too stupid or too cowardly to just say, I'm a nutcase and I like blowing people up. I like killing people. I'm a psychopath. Now, see, that's a serious problem. But so many horrific things have been done in the name of Christianity. Well, it's okay to string Matthew Shepard up on a fence in Wisconsin because of Leviticus, something in the Bible. No, those dudes who killed Matthew Shepard never read a Bible in their whole damn lives. They got drunk. They were pissed off because a gay dude walked into their bar and they murdered him. But then all of a sudden it's, well, the Bible says that's cool. You should kill gay people. No, the Bible doesn't say that. The Bible doesn't tell Muslims, the Quran doesn't tell Muslims to kill non-Muslims. It doesn't do that. Sure, Bin Laden and all these other freaks, they misquote the Quran and say, well, this passage means you need to kill anyone who's not a Muslim. That's not what it says. And that's why I caution everybody to please not take all Muslims. Don't put them all in the same basket as these 9/11/01 cowards. Because Jesus never told anybody, and Allah never told anybody, you need to be 20 years old and fly a plane into a building and kill yourself to honor me. No. In fact, Jesus died, supposedly. I mean, this is the story. Jesus sacrificed himself on the cross so that all that believed in him could have everlasting life. No religion sanctions suicide in the name of that religion. Give up your life. You're 20 years old. Give up your life. Fly a plane into a building. Kill a lot of innocent people. Good people. That's not what religion is. And if any of you belong to any religion who is telling you that, get out. Get out of that religion because it's not a true religion. Religion is supposed to be about believing in something bigger than yourself to give you comfort when you're suffering hard times. to not fear death, because there's something at the other end, if you believe. That's what religion's about. It's not about money. It's not about giving priests access to children so they can molest them. It's not about big buildings with stained glass windows and beautiful castles to worship it. It's about believing in something bigger than yourself, and it's about peace, living in peace, loving your neighbor, whomever that neighbor may be. These people who died on 9/11, they didn't know they were at war, but they were the first casualties of a war that nobody should be fighting. Because we can all live peacefully. Muslims with Christians, Jews with Christians, Jews with Muslims. Because we all bleed red. And when we're dead, we're all dead. And I want to talk about something else because it's important. 3,000 people died 17 years ago, but many thousands of others have died since from what happened on that day. And this is something hardly anybody talks about. And it is the first responders, the second responders, people who dug through the rubble to find one little thing. President Trump talked about that today. That all this one woman wanted from her Flight 93 hero husband was his wedding ring. And people worked to find that ring, and they finally got it back to her in December of 2001. They got that ring. And it said, "All my love," and their wedding date. First responders, people who were at ground zero, people who ran in when other people ran out and survived. They didn't survive. They have been diagnosed with all kinds of cancers and illnesses. And guess what's going to happen in a few months? Their insurance program that was made for them is going to run out. See, there's a deadline on that. Isn't it funny? Because like the one guy said the other day, I have cancer because I worked at ground zero to bring as many remains out as I could so people would have something to bury of their loved ones. My cancer doesn't have an end date. I don't know when cancer is going to kill me. It's going to kill me. But I need to have medical care. But that's going to expire, and we need to stop that from happening. People who worked in New York, people who lived in New York have been affected by all those lights, the lights that exploded, and the asbestos in the buildings, and all the dust, and yes, the human remains. They were breathing that in every single day for months. And now they're sick. They have cancers. They're dying. Many have already died. So when we try to say, 3,000 people died on 9/11, no, actually it's more, it's a lot more than that. Thousands more. Many are living with debilitating illnesses. They can no longer work. And where is the money to support them? It's running out. There's an expiration date on the money. That's something we all need to research and stop from happening. Because if anybody deserves lifelong care, it's those people who were there, who ran in when everybody else was running out. Some people had the privilege of saying, well, I was just visiting New York. I can leave. These people didn't leave. They couldn't leave. They lived there. I strongly believe that my godmother, Arlene Rohr, died, got her lung cancer from the fact that she was in New York City several weeks after 9/11. She was a buyer for a local clothing store here in Lancaster. And she would go to New York every couple of weeks, and she was there. And when she told her doctors after she was diagnosed, they said that's very possible. So there you go. A woman in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, may very well have been killed because of 9/11/01. How many others who travel to New York for business on a regular basis have gotten sick from breathing those toxic fumes, the stuff in the air that you couldn't really even see, but it was there? The fluorescent light bulbs, the human remains, the asbestos, all the building materials that collapsed. We will probably never have a true number of the victims of 9/11/01. Because people will say, well, somebody gets cancer, well, they smoked. But again, really? Was it from the 2 cigarettes a day they smoked, or was it from being in New York every 2 weeks for 10 years after 9/11? Who knows? You don't know. So remember that there are still victims of 9/11 that are living and breathing. We cannot, unfortunately, save those that died that day. What we can do is work our asses off to make sure that the victims that are still living and breathing get all the help and health care that, as the heroes they are, they deserve. You couldn't have paid me any amount of money to go to New York City in the weeks following 9/11, and yet people like my godmother did go because it was their job. Many people shifted through the grave sites of 3,000 people for weeks and months on end just to bring one bone, something for a family to bury, to mourn their loved one. And now those people are sick. We owe them a lot. So on this day where I can bitch all day long, and I will, and I'll bitch tomorrow, and I'll bitch next week, that the weather is ruining my life, ruining my summer vacation, ruining the fact that I can't go to my trailer at the beach because there's a hurricane coming. Well, you know what? I'm still going to bitch about it, but I also have to say in the back of my head, thank God that I knew what was coming, that I wasn't surprised, and that I'm safe. My dog is safe. My husband is safe. Property is insured. It means nothing. But lives are important. A beating heart. The safety of your loved ones. It means everything. And this is a warning too, because I've heard some horrific stories about people in the Carolinas who are saying, hurricane, schmurricane, I'm staying. Please don't do that. Please. Unlike the victims of 9/11/01, you have a warning. You know what's coming. You know it's going to be bad. It's a monster. Please get out. Please. You have a chance to save your life. And remember those people who died on that horrific day and who are dying today because of it. They would give anything to not be dying. They would give anything to not have died. So don't be stupid. Don't be stupid. Board up your damn house, get in your car, and get the hell out. We don't need to lose any more good American lives, especially in a case like this where it could have been prevented. You have a warning. On 9/11/01, nobody knew. Or so they say. Nobody knew. At least those people who went to work that day, who got on the planes those days, that day, they didn't know. They didn't know it was their last day on Earth. They didn't know they were in a war. And the saddest thing of all is even the terrorists didn't know who they were killing. They had never met them. That's why I also try to tell you guys, extend your hand to someone who's different than you. Because maybe if they had personally known the people they were killing, maybe they would have changed their minds. I don't care who you are, what God you worship, what Bible you read, if you read any Bible at all. But if you take the time to have a conversation with someone like me, someone who's different than you, you're going to find that you have more in common than you ever thought possible. And that all the things you used to think about that person were completely off the mark. I want to show you something. This is something that my viewer from California, Sam, I got the pleasure of meeting him last night. Him and his ex-wife, Patsy, they came and had dinner, and Jason and I, we all had dinner together, and he brought me this card. And if you can read it, it says surviving and thriving. And he wrote to my new best pal, Political Paula, and Jason. But you know what? We disagree sometimes, but he watches the show, and he came all the way from California to visit his family. He didn't come all the way from California to see me, but he wanted to meet me, and it was such a pleasure to meet him. And this is why I love doing the show. So Sam, I know you're going to watch, and I really do. I mean, it was my heart. It was so awesome. And by the way, Sam, you may have just saved my ass, because if it weren't for you saying, I want to have dinner with you on September 10th, I may still be down in Maryland where the hurricane may hit this weekend. So I wouldn't have been home. I wouldn't have left. So not only was it such a pleasure to meet Sam and Patsy for dinner, but I possibly could have been down in the hurricane's path, down in Maryland, because it's going to hit there. And so, Sam, not only do you have my heart because you're just a sweet ass dude, man. You're a cool dude. So is Patsy. What a cool chick. But I'm in Lancaster safe and sound with my family because I came home to have dinner with you. How cool is that? Never forget 9/11/01, no matter what's going on in your life. Every person who perished that day means something to someone and should mean something to us all. Political Paula is out.